Welcome back, Daisy Cakes. I want to get back to talking about speculative fiction subgenres. And the subgenre du jour is the Dying Earth, which I think is really fascinating. Why? Because I am Daisy Ex Machina, the drag queen detective who investigates all things speculative in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. The Dying Earth is a subgenre of science fiction, or really speculative fiction, because it often has fantasy elements, and it basically means what it says. It encompasses when the Earth is dying. Now, this is not the same as apocalyptic science fiction where some huge event occurs that wipes the Earth out, like the Final Architecture series by Adrian Tchaikovsky, where moon-sized aliens carve the Earth up into art. And it's not even the end of the Earth by climate change or caused by some human reason. No, we are talking about the natural end of the life cycle of the Earth. Everyone who has taken basic astronomy knows the sun will eventually burn hotter and hotter and eventually turn into a red giant. Spoiler, the oceans will boil and the atmosphere will be stripped away. If you really want to extrapolate the sun's life cycle, it's eventually going to collapse into a white dwarf and then finally burn out. Of course, we are talking about billions of years before we lose our oceans and atmosphere. So, Dying Earth fiction imagines humanity in the far, 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 far future. Unlike apocalyptic stories, Dying Earth stories are more filled with melancholy and ennui, and maybe even nihilism, because we see the inevitable end coming, not with a bang, but a whimper. The Dying Earth is all about entropy. This type of story or rumination has been around a long time, maybe starting with French writer Jean-Baptiste Granville's Le Dernier Homme, or The Last Man, which he wrote in 1805. Not to be confused with Mary Shelley's novel, The Last Man, which is also basically the same kind of story. In H.G. Wells' Time Machine, we zoom forward to see the end of the Earth, where life has devolved into giant crabs. In the 1930s, Clark Ashton Smith wrote a series of short stories centered on Zothique, the last continent on Earth where humanity has forgotten its technology and evolved into primitive societies. Now, those stories of Zothique inspired another writer, a guy you may have heard of named Jack Vance, who wrote a collection of stories written throughout the 1950s set in the Dying Earth. Yes, this whole subgenre is named after Jack Vance's Dying Earth series. The interesting thing about Vance's Dying Earth is that technology is so advanced that it actually is indistinguishable from magic. In fact, one of the main stories is called Mazirian the Magician. For those who are into Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax was inspired by the Dying Earth in creating the original D&D magic system. And yes, continuing with the Dying Earth's influence on gaming, there is a Dying Earth role-playing game. If you haven't read any Jack Vance before, I really encourage you to pick up The Dying Earth because his writing is unexpectedly literary and special and influenced many other writers. This includes Gene Wolfe, who wrote Book of the New Sun, a collection of 4 books written in the 80s that was directly influenced by Jack Vance. The Book of the New Sun is set in the distant future where the sun has dimmed, and if you haven't read Book of the New Sun, what are you waiting for? It is one of the most highly respected literary works of science fiction. It's about a torturer named Severian who is exiled after showing mercy to one of his clients. Arthur C. Clarke's The City and the Stars is considered a Dying Earth subgenre, but I may also include Childhood's End in that category. Feel free to argue with me down in the comments. There's also Michael Moorcock's The Dancers at the End of Time, which was a series written in the 70s where everyone, or almost everyone, is immortal and decadent. And Moorcock explores some weird what-if scenarios regarding incest, much like Heinlein did around the same time period. C.J. Cherryh wrote a collection of short fiction called Sunfall, where each story is based in a different city in a far future with the perhaps dying Earth. The Dying of the Light was written in 1977 by one George R.R. Martin. Yes, that George R.R. Martin, which is considered in the Dying Earth subgenre. Hideyuki Kikuchi's Vampire Hunter D is considered in the Dying Earth subgenre. Vampire Hunter D is one of the best-selling series in history and has spawned manga and animated adaptations of the same name. Have you read any Dying Earth novels? Again, the setting would be the end stages of the planet, or the solar system, or the universe, or maybe just the natural end of human civilization. The key word is entropy. Let me know down in the comments, and while you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, let me know some of your favorite, maybe little-known subgenres. Maybe I'll even do a video on them. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.